Good morning all. I welcome you all on the behalf of StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Pritesh Mathurkar and I extend my warmest regards to everyone, those who are joining me today for the analysis of the current affairs of the 2nd of May of 2023. And this session has been especially started for you all for 2 to 3 reasons. So the first reason that these sessions have been started, and the name of the sessions being the Hindu Analysis Zone, because civil services examination is an examination which is having a evolutionary kind of trend. Okay, the examination is not static. Okay, the questions that come, they evolve each year, and with increasing degree of analysis, the questions needs to be framed or the answers needs to be written in a very good format. Hence, the analysis of newspapers comes in very handy, wherein you have to pick up the detailed intricacies of the issues that are happening. So these lectures are primarily concentrated on analyzing the Hindu, and the sole premise of these lectures being that you should have some utilitarian value of these lectures, wherein you can use the knowledge which is being given in these lectures and directly translate it into mains. Guys, please remember, any content you watch on any of the platform, the content needs to be useful, wherein you should utilize that content in scoring good marks in your mains. So please be hungry for marks, never be hungry for content. Leave it on me. If you follow the current affairs the way I am doing, it will be taken care of very properly, very holistically, and I guarantee you, if you follow this content only, you can easily score 20 to 30 marks in prelims and approximately 300 to 400 marks in your mains. And if essay comes in your purview, then you can score around 500 to 600 marks in mains too. Okay, so that's my guarantee to you. So please be hungry for marks. Okay, so before I begin, I will just point out again the way we proceed with the things. So in this lectures, I discuss with you the detailed PDFs of the articles which are important on the present day's Hindu. These PDFs are available to you freely, and you can download those PDFs through a Telegram channel, the name of which I will be putting in front of you in just few seconds. Before coming to this class, what is expected from your end is two things. Number first, that you have analyzed the present day Hindu. Okay, you have marked up the articles so that you are matching those articles with me, whether you are on a right track or your track is slightly deviated, because it will give you confidence that yes, we are able to grasp the things in the way UPSC is demanding. Okay, and number two, before coming to the sessions, you must have had your full file folders ready on everyday's analysis, so that before going to mains, you have your own current affairs material. Okay, you don't need to rely on anybody. Your current affair materials is being taken care by you yourself. So that being the premise of these lectures, so let's begin today's lecture. Again, good morning to everyone, those who are joining me for the first time and those who are consistent with me. You know the way we proceed with things. Okay, so before beginning with the discussion of articles, I will just quickly like to introduce myself. My name is Pritesh Mathurkar. I will be your primarily faculty for handling the analysis of Hindu newspaper. Okay, you can join a Telegram channel named HAZ. Okay, I have deliberately kept the name on the lines of SEZ, the special economic zone. So we have the special Hindu analysis zone for everyone, and in this channel, the PDFs which I will be discussing in the lectures will be available to you freely and in the same way that I will be discussing. So it's a humble request, please join this channel and it will benefit you. So you will have your own mainstay of current affairs, and the joining link is t.me, the Hindu analysis zone. Okay, so please utilize this channel for your preparation, and I have faith that once you do the postings on this channel properly, you summarize them holistically, you will get assured marks in mains. I being a faculty which is extremely focused on marks only, because guys, it's a competition. Okay, the famous dialogue of Three Idiots, life is like a race. If you don't run fast, you are like a broken anda. Okay, so everything is about marks. You have to crush your competition, and for that crushing of competition, analysis of Hindu is very, very paramount. Okay, so before any further ado, let's begin with our discussion of today's Hindu. In every lecture, I give you a severity level of the articles, the significance level of the articles of any day's Hindu. So I give the scale out of 1 to 10. Yesterday's scale was 7 to 9. Very important. Today's scale is ranging between 5 to 6. Okay. The articles are not that important. Only few of them are important. Rather, one of them is extremely important. The first article that I'll be discussing with you. So today's severity scale is between 5 to 7. Okay. Some article, rather one only, will be extremely important. Other articles you can just keep brushing in your head. Guys, see, analysis of current affairs is very significant thing in your preparation. Okay, analysis means what? See, you don't need to have a complete booklet of yourself. You don't have to write your own manuscript of current affairs. What is needed in civil services examination is diversity based dimensions. Your mind must be accustomed to dealing with heavy amount of information. So the more information you put beneath your eyes, the more your mind will be trained. Okay, because once you become a IAS officer, when you become an IPS officer, you will have to sign hundreds of files on a daily basis. You will have to go through content. So please treat this curriculum as your preparation for becoming an officer. Okay, so ultimately this will translate into you becoming one of the best officers which India can have. Okay, because the more the content goes beneath your eyes, the more your minds open up. Okay, so enlightenment is our ultimate goal, but the preliminary goal of this session is you scoring good marks. Okay, so let's move with the discussion of the first article of today. So Supreme Court has rather exercised its discretionary power, its extraordinary power, which has been enshrined for it under the Article 142 of the Indian Constitution, and it has used for a subject which is very daunting, which is very peculiar as of today. So SC says, Supreme Court says that it can end wait for consensual divorce. Guys, marriage, divorce, these being some of the gray areas of discussion per se, but you and me, we both being adult audiences, we both being graduate audiences, so we need to understand that in India getting a divorce is not that easy. Okay, first of all, you have to separate for 1 year, so you have to live in separate houses for 1 year, then you have to file for divorce, and after that you have cooling off period which ranges from 6 to 8 months up to 1.5 years, and then if the judge feels that okay, things are not going fine, then you can file for divorce. And the things which add fuel to this in the divorce petitions is if you have any criminal proceedings which with regards to domestic violence, with regards to dowry, then the case intensifies even further, and then divorce petitions get dragged for many years. And you have numerous case studies wherein the divorce petitions have been filed on malified grounds. They are not truth based petitions, so misuse of the proceedings too does happen. So Supreme Court under Article 142 of Constitution has used its extraordinary, rather its discretionary power, and it has said that we can now end consensual divorce if the proceedings are being dragged or if some other grounds are met. Okay, guys, the polity articles are rather difficult for analyzing because the language is very constitutional. I know majority of the aspirants have some difficulty in understanding this language because the schooling, the education that we have, it is not focused on this. Okay, so whenever I'm discussing polity based articles, I will try to keep my language as easy as possible. But whenever you write answer, guys, please make sure that your answers do reflect this language. Guys, it's a journey, it's not a destination based race. Okay, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint race. So eventually you will improve upon your language. The language which is there in the article is highly technical. Slowly you will improve upon the things. Okay, so just have faith in me, and I will not diverge outside the purview of the Hindu for discussion. I will not cramp up as much information as there in the universe in one article. No, because you and me, we believe that we have started on a journey together. So I am your friend, I am your philosopher, and I am so your guide. Okay, so we will move, we will increase our level day by day so that you and me both have confidence in one another. Okay, so let's move ahead with the discussion of this article. The Supreme Court on Monday held that its extraordinary discretion under Article 142 of the Constitution of India can be used to do complete justice for couples trapped in bitter marriages. Please understand this. For couples trapped in bitter marriages, by granting them divorce by mutual consent. Okay, the consent must be mutual. It does not mean that if any of the party is dissatisfied, divorce cannot be granted. Okay, so couples trapped in bitter marriages, divorce can be granted by mutual consent, sparing them the misery of waiting for 6 to 18 months for a local court to declare the annulment final. Okay, so the cooling off period plus the waiting period, it translates into around 2 to 3 years of process. So Supreme Court has said that we will end this misery once and for all, but there are certain grounds that must be met for doing this. So before discussing the grounds, I will like to highlight the 3 important issues on which the Supreme Court can use its extraordinary discretion power. Okay, so the first, the Supreme Court observed that the same extraordinary power could be used by the court to squash pending criminal or legal proceedings, be it over domestic violence or dowry against the man or woman. This would wipe the slate clean and help them start fresh after their separate lives. So in around 60 to 70% of the divorce petitions, you also have criminal proceedings being put forward, and sometimes the criminal proceedings are not put forward in a good intention. They are based on malified intentions. So Supreme Court has also given a breather to both man as well as the woman. It's not that only woman will suffer and it's not that only man will suffer. Okay, so if any of the aggrieved party is suffering because of malified proceedings, because of malified charges, Supreme Court has said that we will end too, and it will again use its discretionary power. So Supreme Court will use its discretionary power for number 1, for ending the misery of bitter marriages. Okay, the 6 to 18 months of cooling off period can be done with if certain criteria are met. Those criteria are mentioned further in the article, but for now just remember that yesterday's judgment with regards to, or yesterday's order with regards to utilization of Article 142 of Constitution with regards to the discretionary power of Supreme Court. The first point being that Supreme Court will end the misery of the bitter marriages by letting off the cooling off period. Number 2, it can also use that power to squash the criminal proceedings as well as the proceedings against Dowry Act and the Domestic Violence Act, okay, which normally tend to get misused in India. So this is number 2. This is number 1. Okay, so 2 things up till now I have discussed. Now the third thing, okay, the court further observed that, by the way, the entire law of divorce was built predominantly on assigning fault on one or the other partner. Such an approach fails to serve broken marriages, the court noted. If a marriage is wrecked beyond the hope of salvage, public interest lies in recognizing the real fact. Okay, so divorce petitions are normally based on assigning fault, that he has not done this, she has not done this, she has not fulfilled his duty, he has not fulfilled his duty. So it's basically a blame game. Okay, and in that blame game, the judge has to give the final annulment judgment. So guys, this is not a proper approach wherein on the basis of blame game only you need to give judgment. Okay, and rather you have to prove those faults in the court. So it becomes very personal. It becomes very intimidating for a party who has been aggrieved, who has been agitated, and who is suffering. And just believe, if the charges are not true, so what the party must suffer in the court. Okay, so please make sure that you understand this fact too. It is the statement of the Supreme Court itself. If a marriage is wrecked beyond the hope of salvage, public interest lies in recognizing this real fact. So please make sure that you are comfortable with this info. Now, the third ground which Supreme Court can use its extraordinary power under Article 142 of the Constitution. Taking this logic forward, the bench held that Supreme Court could also use Article 142, mind you, this is the third use, to grant divorce on the ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage if the separation is inevitable and the damage is beyond irreparable. The judgment is significant as irretrievable broken down of marriage is not yet a ground for divorce under the Hindu Marriage Act. What do you mean by irretrievable breakdown? Okay, irretrievable breakdown. So just imagine that you have 2 persons, person A and person B, one man, one woman. Up till now we don't have the legal provisions for same-sex marriage in India. the petitions are still pending, the petitions have been filed, the judgment is still pending. So if there are so bitter consequences, if there are so bitter kind of arguments, if there is intense hate between the man and woman, that they cannot survive or they cannot live together even for a single second, so what's the use of just delaying the judgment? Okay, presently under the Hindu Marriage Act, this provision is not mentioned, that it's irretrievable breakdown, that a man and a woman are so unhappy with one another that they cannot live any further for even a second. So Supreme Court can use its judgment, can use its power under Article 142 to end this marriage too. Irretrievable breakdown. Okay, so three issues in which, or rather three cases in which, the Supreme Court can utilize its discretionary power under Article 142. I'm again reiterating my statement. Three areas or three utilizations of extraordinary power of the Supreme Court enshrined under Article 142 of the Indian Constitution. Number first being that if the marriage is getting bitter, or if the cooling off period is very high, or if the judgment is not coming in the lower courts, so Supreme Court can end the misery by using its extraordinary power. Number two, Supreme Court can also use its extraordinary power to end the pending criminal charges and the pending legal proceeding with regards to domestic violence, with regards to Dowry Act, and with regards to some other criminal proceedings too. Okay, so this is the second thing. And this is, guys, this is a much needed reform. Please remember this, okay? Because in majority of the divorce petitions, somewhere down the line, criminal proceedings are being formed and they are being charged on the other party. So please remember that this was a much needed reform. So it does not mean that a woman is filing such charges against the man, or a man is filing such charges against the woman. Both of the parties are equally guilty in India. Let's be very gender neutral, we shouldn't be gender specific. So it's a famous saying that a clap is made only by two hands. One hand cannot clap, you require two hands to clap. So the Supreme Court has said that we will see the cases, we will see the findings, we will see the petitions, and then we will give the informed judgment using our discretionary power. Okay, and the third thing which Supreme Court has said, that if the marriage is going in a phase of irretrievable breakdown, wherein the woman and the man are extremely unhappy, they cannot even survive for 1 second with one another, we can again end the marriage. So these are the three things, or these are the three areas wherein Supreme Court can utilize its discretionary power enshrined under Article 142 of the Constitution of India. Up till now, I have repeated Article 142 for approximately 15 to 20 times. I am doing this so deliberately because it should get imbibed in your brain. Okay, if a single one-liner comes in prelims, or if a question comes in mains, that recently Article 142 of the Constitution has been in news, discuss, comment, analyze. So you should remember my words, okay, and you should remember my voice and just write down the answers in mains, guys. So that's my methodology, that's my technique. Some of you might feel bored, some of you might feel repetitive, but that is how everything works in the universe. Okay, consistency, repetency. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, in this article, Supreme Court has cautioned that, okay, we are giving you the privilege that we will use the power to annul your divorce or annul your marriage, but who can approach the Supreme Court? On what grounds only you can approach Supreme Court? Otherwise, every couple will end up in Supreme Court. Okay, so please use this. Okay, please see this properly. The judgment does not mean people can rush straight to the Supreme Court for a quick divorce. Mind you, this is very important. Judgment does not mean that you can rush to the Supreme Court quickly for a quick divorce. It means that Supreme Court, using a great care and caution, see the language, guys, using great care and caution. Okay, care in the sense of what? That none of the party is getting injustice, every party is getting justice. Okay, and caution means what? That, okay, Supreme Court is using its extraordinary power, but that power should not translate into judicial outreach, it should not translate into judicial adventurism. Okay, and question, and can invoke Article 142 to deal with certain cases which come to it by the way of transfer petitions or appeals in civil or criminal matrimonial disputes. Okay, so the long cases which are pending in the lower courts or through petitions, then only your case can be heard in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court can give its judgment by using its extraordinary discretion. And what are the circumstances which warrant the use of Article 142? So these are now the circumstances. These include the duration of marriage, the period of litigation, the time they have stayed apart, the nature of the pending cases between the couples, the number of attempts at reconciliation, and the court satisfaction that mutual agreement to divorce was not under coercion. So these are some of the grounds that warrant the utilization of Article 142. I'm again reiterating, guys, these are some of the grounds which Supreme Court will use for utilization of its power under Article 142. First being the duration of marriage, second being the period of litigation. Okay, if the period of litigation is very broad, okay, so 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, Supreme Court can definitely use it. The time they have stayed apart, so years have passed, both of the man and woman have stayed apart, you can utilize this power. Number 4, the nature of pending cases between the couples. So if a person A has filed Dowry Act, has filed domestic violence charges, if a person A has also filed some other criminal proceedings, so if everything is filed, Supreme Court can again take cognizance, because such charges are very grave and they tend to impact the future of the other person against whom the charges are being framed. Okay, so it's a question of leading a good life, it's a question of leading a respectable life, guys. Okay, then number 5th, the number of attempts at reconciliation and the court satisfaction. This is number 6, that the mutual agreement to divorce was not under coercion, that a divorce is based on consent, it is not based on coercion. So these are the 6 grounds on which the Supreme Court can utilize, or these are the 6 grounds which warrant the use of extraordinary power enshrined under Article 142 of the Constitution of Republic of India. Okay, so I hope this article is clear to you. Okay, there are very few cases wherein Supreme Court uses this discretionary power. Okay, sometimes it's in a good intent, or sometimes it results into judicial overreach. Okay, one of the prime examples of judicial overreach being the issue of the permit of liquor bars, permit of sale of liquor along the highways. So in just 3-4 years back, Supreme Court gave a judgment that no sale of liquor or no bars will be permitted within 500 meters of the highways. So you know what kind of repercussions it had on the local economy and what number of cases were being filed in the Supreme Court. So sometimes the judicial overreach tends to do a negation or tends to do a negative impact on the society, but sometimes this judicial overreach also translates into good things, and you can utilize the issue of judicial overreach in a good way in this article, because this is a issue which is deeply personal, which is basically also with regards to Article 21 of the Constitution of India, right to life. Okay, because if the charges are framed against you, your respect in the society, okay, your way of holding your head high is changed. Okay, so you can utilize this article from a judicial overreach perspective, but in a good way. Okay, so that being the premise of this article, I hope those who are watching this is clear to you. Okay, so let's move forward. Discussion of the second article. So in today's Hindu, this article was of prime importance. Rest of the articles, just brushing off the things and we are done. Okay, so yesterday we discussed an article with regards to the AQI index of Delhi. Very encouraging data that this year's January to April AQI, air quality index of Delhi, was better than the last 7 years. So this article is basically with regards to that only, where the Chief Minister of Delhi has ensured certain points, that this point will be ensured, this action will be ensured in Delhi to curb pollution even faster. And there are 2 things in this article which are very important. Number first, the point of pollution source, or where the pollution comes from in winter and where the pollution comes from in summers. So you have to understand the difference between the point of pollution source in winters vis-a-vis regards to the summers. So just 2 or 3 things in this article, and we will be taking care of this article too. Okay, so patrolling units, anti-smoke guns and sprinklers. So this will be the primary weapons for curbing Delhi's pollution: patrolling units, anti-smoke guns and sprinklers. Okay, Chief Minister on Monday announced a 14-point action plan to reduce air pollution during the summer months, with a focus controlling dust pollution. Okay, you know, summers being a low pressure conditions. In summers you have very low pressure on the northern plains of India, because the sun moves in the northern hemisphere, and when the sun is on Tropic of Cancer, the entire northern plains experiences a low pressure trough, and because of this you have incidences of dust storms, you have incidences of dust bowls, and if these dust bowls have increased incidences of pollution, the air quality index is bound to dip further. Okay, so there are certain points, there are certain issues which the Chief Minister of Delhi has discussed, and he has put forward a 14-point action plan to curb the pollution during the summer months. So you can utilize this info, 14-point action plan. If you have a question on the pollution of Delhi in mains, you can utilize this. 2 times the question have been asked directly in mains. Okay, so I'm discussing this is page 2 of Hindu, wherein we have the city page, Delhi being the capital of India, rather the NCR region of India, National Capital Region. Okay, New Delhi being the capital of India. So it becomes paramount that we discuss such issues too, because they do translate into mains directly. Okay, so the encouraging data is like this: there is a 30% reduction in air pollution levels from 2016 to 2022, and the number of severe air quality days have decreased from 26 in 2016 to 6 in 2022. The number of very poor and severe AQI days have come down from 124 to 72. So it is, reduction is almost less than 50%. So very encouraging data. Yesterday we did the AQI index, one color, one description. It has been put forward by CPBC, Central Pollution Control Board, along with the professors of IIT Kanpur. So the very poor and severe AQI days have now just come down to 72 from 124, and the number of severe air quality days have decreased from 26 in 2016 to just 6 in 2022. So very encouraging data for everyone. Finally, we can breathe clean air in Delhi. Now guys, this is very important, the distinction to remember. Okay, where the pollution comes from in winter and where the pollution comes from in summer. During winter, the pollution stems from weather patterns. Weather patterns means what? You all know that the northern plains of India during the winter months, they have the incidences of western disturbances. Okay, so you have this temperate systems, this temperate pressure systems which come from the Ukrainian region, which come from the Black Sea region, and they do cause winter rainfall in the northern plains of India. So weather patterns in winters, you have western disturbances. Okay, please remember this. You have stubble burning. You all know that stubble burning is very rampant in Punjab and Haryana during the winter months. Vehicular emissions, because in winters you will have high pressure conditions. These high pressure conditions will do what? They will act like a lead on the vehicular emissions. So all the vehicular emissions are confined to the lower layers of atmosphere in northern plains of India during winters. So pollution stems from weather patterns, western disturbances, number 2 from stubble burning, okay, vehicular emissions, and number 4 open burning. Okay, so open burning, basically bonfire. You are feeling cold, so you have lit up bonfire. Whereas in summers the point of pollution source is different. Okay, it is driven by landfill fires spurred by heat, because in summers the mercury will rise, the temperatures will rise, so the landfills tend to catch fire very easily, and you have Asia's one of the biggest landfill in Delhi, the Azadpur area, and blazes in the area with dry foliage. Okay, blazes in area with dry foliage, because in summers the trees will shed leaves so as to prepare them for the summer conditions. We have deciduous trees in India, so such shedding of leaves can catch fire very easily because the biomass is extremely dry. So these are the distinction between the pollution sources in winter and the summers. I'm again reiterating, in winters the pollution will stem from weather patterns, western disturbances, stubble burning, vehicular emissions. Why vehicular emissions? Because of high pressure conditions and open burning, bonfire. And in summers it will be driven by landfill blazes. Okay, because in summers the mercury rises, and in landfills you have anaerobic decomposition. So you have gases like sulfide, hydrogen sulfide, methane, which are formed over there and which are combustible, and blazes in areas for dry of foliage. Okay, why? Because in just before summers the trees will shed their leaves. India being a monsoonal kind of climate, we have deciduous trees in India which shed their leaves at least 2 times a year. At least means this, not at least, they shed leaves 2 times a year. At least one time they do shed the leaves. So because of this, that dry biomass can catch fire very easily. Okay, so you just need to remember this, guys, the distinction between the winter sources and the summer sources. And what are the weapons which the government of Delhi will use? It will use mechanical road sweeping machines, water sprinklers, and mobile anti-smoke guns. Okay, and you will also have patrolling units at night to identify the sources of pollution. So you will also have administrative outreach. The administrative officials will do patrolling and they will identify the point of source of pollution. Okay, and you will also use real-time source appropriation study and find solutions to curb it. Okay, real-time source appropriation study means what? That if there is a fire or if there is a pollution source from a particular area, you are seeing that one particular area of Delhi is witnessing severe drop down in AQI. So immediately the patrolling unit will go over there and they will generate the data as to why the pollution is increasing in this area. And guys, a very important kind of application over here, you remember we discussed Web3 in one of the lectures. Okay, so you can utilize Web3 for doing this. Okay, see, the interlinkage has begun. Okay, good morning Kiran, good morning Anonymous. I don't know who Anonymous is, but I hope you are enjoying the sessions. So the first interlinkage that I am doing for every one of you in this lecture, you must have heard the Web3 application which I discussed in the previous lectures, wherein we can use Web3's decentralized analytical data system generation, and we can utilize this for monitoring the pollution sources too. Okay, in that article we did discuss that we can use Web3 for generating data of Jal Jeevan Mission, Atal Bhujal Yojana. We can even do it for the handicrafts industry. We can generate digital tokens, okay, for the transferring of skill from master to apprentice. So you can use Web3 data over here too, okay, for generating the real-time pollution source. So the first interlinkage that I'm doing for you, and this is the beauty of analyzing Hindu. You slowly start to get enlightened. Okay, you slowly start to have an aura behind your head. Okay, so let's move forward now. The next article that I will be discussing with you today, okay, a very different kind of article, a very gray area for discussion, but this is the future discourse of treating depression. This is the future discourse of treating anxiety, and very good research has come forward with regards to the use of psychedelic substances. So you will enjoy this article a lot, and someday or the other you will see some regulation in India with regards to this too. Okay, two things first before beginning the discussion of this article. Okay, number first, we all are living in the age of social media. We all are living in the age of digital connection. So but naturally we do feel sometimes stressed, we do feel sometimes depressed. Okay, competition is intense. So what is happening because of this? Our mental health is not stable. Okay, and we tend to do substance abuse under such circumstances. Okay, so can this substance abuse be cured, or can this substance abuse be curtailed by the use of psychedelic substances? Psychedelic substances are different from drugs. Okay, drugs will have intoxicating character. Intoxicating means what? They will lower your consciousness, and they will have certain characteristics which will propel you, or which will compel you to keep on taking drugs often and often. So you will get addicted to drugs. Drugs will have intoxicating nature, drugs will have addiction nature. Whereas psychedelic substances are neither intoxicating, they don't lower your consciousness, and neither they are addictive. Means you will not get addicted to psychedelic substances. So two or three psychedelic substances are discussed in this article. What are the uses of psychedelic substances? Do they cause any harm? And can psychedelic substances be used from a medicinal perspective? So that is the beauty of this article. So please understand this article very properly. Okay. Psychedelic drugs banned in India under the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act are emerging in research as promising ways to treat treatment-resistant depression. Treatment-resistant depression. So if some person is heavily depressed, no treatment is letting the person out of that thing. So you can have psychedelic substances being put to use for treating that. Okay, treatment-resistant depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. So something bad has happened in your life, you are having a trauma, and because of that trauma you are getting into stress. So post-traumatic stress disorder. So you can utilize psychedelic substances for treating conditions like treatment-resistant depression and PTSD. Okay. What are PTSDs, guys? Okay. PTSDs are a group of drugs that alter the perception, mood and thought processing while a person is still clearly conscious. Please remember this. They tend to alter what? They tend to alter perception, they tend to alter mood and thought processing while a person is still clearly conscious. They are not intoxicating. The person's insight also remains impaired. Okay. Insights means what? So if you start asking person, what is the name, what is your name, okay, where do you live, all the personal information, it is not at all impaired. Psychedelics are non-addictive, non-toxic, and compared to illicit drugs, they are less harmful to the end user. Okay, so the adverse effects of the common drugs that you have, like if you are consuming alcohol, if you are consuming tobacco, if you are consuming drugs like Adderall, okay, so these drugs, they tend to have adverse consequences on your body. Okay, if you are consuming alcohol, you will have liver stenosis, you can suffer from enlargement of your liver, so you will suffer from cirrhosis and you will die down. If you are consuming tobacco, tobacco is linked to numerous forms of cancer, whereas psychedelic drugs, they are not that harmful to the end user. Okay. So some of the psychedelic drugs are mentioned in this article. You just need to remember one or two of them. Okay, a psychiatrist named Humphrey Osmond first used the term psychedelics in 1957. Humans have used psilocybin and mescaline for ceremonies, healing and spiritual rituals for millennia. So if you go to the tribal groups of the world, they have used psychedelic substances like psilocybin and mescaline for ceremonies, healing and spiritual rituals for millennia. So just remember these two words, psilocybin and mescaline. Okay. Next, move ahead. The modern day use of psychedelics is commonly associated with the German chemist Arthur Heffer isolating mescaline from the cycot cactus in 1897. So mescaline was the first modern day use of psychedelic done by a German chemist Arthur Heffer in the year 1897. And Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann first synthesized LSD. LSD is a very potent psychedelic drug. Okay, it is often misused by the people, but if used properly, it can result into good things. Okay, now let's come to the positives of psychedelics and negatives of the psychedelics. How do these drugs work in the body? Use of psychedelic substances report changes in perception, somatic experience, mood, thought processing and ethogenetic experiences. Perpetual distortion most commonly include visual domain. Okay, so What do you mean by this? This language is highly technical, guys. You just need to remember, what do psychedelics do? Psychedelics just alter your mood, they alter your perception, and they alter your thought process. Okay, they basically open up your mind. Okay, and this is done when you are still clearly conscious. So just imagine that I have consumed LSD and I'm sitting in front of you and I'm taking this lecture. So it is not that I cannot discuss the PDFs with you. I will discuss, but my mind will open up to even different dimensions. So I will start seeing colors over here. I will start hearing sounds of color. So I will say to it that I'm hearing red color. I'm seeing red color, but I'm hearing red color. So I will start talking to you like this. If I am hearing red color, so I can see air. So my thoughts will start get altering. So my mind will come out of that drug resistant depression. My mind will come out of the PTSD. But mind you guys, the research is not yet prudent on the adverse effects of this. Okay, whatever research has been done, it has been found that you don't have adverse consequences, but you do have dizziness, you do have certain kind of allergies to the people that use psychedelics. But psychedelics, they only alter your thought, they alter your mood, they alter your perception. And please remember this, they have somatic experiences in the sense of what? You start to hear colors and you start to see sound. Okay, so the things which you should hear, you start seeing them, and the things which you should see, you start hearing them. Okay, a very different perspective, but this is what the psychedelics do. Okay. A recent case report published in the American Journal of Psychiatry demonstrated that robust and sustained antidepressant effects can occur even in the absence of psilocybin's psychedelic effects. So even if you are out of the therapy, even if you have taken the therapy of psychedelics and you are out of it, then also you can have that effect in your brain that okay, you are coming out of this depression. So very potent use. Okay. Please remember this. This is the distinction from the drugs. Modern neuroimaging suggests that psychedelics are neither stimulants nor depressants of the brain activity. Please remember this. Psychedelics will neither stimulate brain activity, they are neither depressant of the brain activity. Instead, they increase the crosstalk between the different brain networks, and this correlates with the subjective effects of psychedelics. What do you mean by this, guys? This is very important. Modern neuroimaging suggests that psychedelics are neither stimulants nor depressants of the brain activity. Instead, they increase the crosstalk between the different brain networks. Okay. Please understand this. Okay, in your brain you have two hemispheres. You have right hemisphere and you have left hemisphere. Left hemisphere will control your right body and right hemisphere will control your left body. Okay, one hemisphere controls your speech, one hemisphere controls your writing. One hemisphere will control your dominant actions, another hemisphere will control your involuntary actions. So what do psychedelics do? Psychedelics, they increase the crosstalk between the two hemispheres of the brain. Just imagine this, that one day you are righty and another day you are writing with your left hand. So your right hand is managed by different hemisphere and your left hand is managed by a different hemisphere. So you cannot just switch between these two hemispheres very easily because of less crosstalk between the two hemispheres. So psychedelics tend to do what? They tend to increase this crosstalk. Okay, so you become a superhuman, you become Rajnikant. Okay, jokes apart, guys, we don't have the exact data, but this is how it goes. Okay, so please remember the distinction from the drugs. Okay, up till now, deaths due to direct toxicity of LSD, psilocybin or psilocybin have not been reported despite 50 years of recreational use. Okay, so up till now no death has been reported from their use. So but guys, please don't do that immediately. Today you are starting consuming of these drugs, okay, of these psychedelics. Okay, we don't know the side effects. Okay, there is no evidence that psychedelics cause psychological or physiological dependence, nor has any withdrawal syndrome been identified. Tension headaches are common in the 24 hours after use and are offset by the use of simple analgesics. So you have headache, you do have tension, otherwise it's done and dusted. Okay. So the last thing of this article, what does this mean for the use of psychedelics, the future scope? Okay. Although recent findings are encouraging, there remains uncertainty about where the psychedelic renaissance will take us. Psychedelic substances provide an intriguing avenue through which one can probe the broader constructs of creativity, spirituality, and consciousness aside from their therapeutic effects. Okay, so still it's a gray area where psychedelic substances use will take us, because we only have data on how do they work, and we have very limited data on what side effects they have on the end user. But using this psychedelic substances, using this kind of drugs, you can do what? You can take the patients out of clinically ill-treated depression. Okay, if it is not possible to treat clinical depression, if the depression has become treatment resistant, you can take the person out. Because why? Psychedelic substances will increase that person's creativity, it will open up his spirituality and its consciousness too. Okay, so this is the future scopes of psychedelics. At present in India, they are completely banned under Narcotics Act. Okay, you cannot have possession of this drugs. If you are caught with the possession with these drugs, it's jail sentence directly. Okay, so there needs to be some regulation. Now the world is moving further with research. Now we have MRI technologies, we have other fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. So we can invest something in the research with regards to this. And the ill effects of the digital media, the ill effects of the social media can be treated by a regulated use of psychedelic substances. So this is another very interesting article of today's Hindu, and I discuss this article deliberately with you all because this article has been written by one of the person who works in a very reputed mental college, mental health college, and mental health sciences institution in Hubli. Okay, in the southern India. Okay, now next article that I am discussing with you, this is basically headline news. Okay, government bans 14 apps in J&K and sites used by terror groups. Now you must be wondering, guys, that why I'm discussing this article, why ban of apps. So two things are very important as of today. Okay, and I'm guessing that this will surely be asked in prelims this year. Okay, two things. Number first, okay, end-to-end encryption. Okay, I'm again reiterating end-to-end encryption. So all of you are using WhatsApp today. So if you open up WhatsApp and if you open up chat with anybody, on the top you see that your chats are end-to-end encrypted. End-to-end encrypted means what? That a key has been generated especially for me, and that key is on my mobile device only. Neither WhatsApp, neither the parent company Meta has that key. Okay, and your chats and my chats are protected by my key on my end and by your key on your end. And even the chat backup, which is now stored on the cloud servers, it is also end-to-end encrypted. So now just imagine if terror groups start using this end-to-end encryption, so how will the government agencies crack their chats? How will they crack up their communications? So government has banned such apps in J&K which use end-to-end encryption. Okay, and the most prominent example of that app, you need to remember this app. Okay, I don't know how many of you know this app, but the name of the app is Thema. Okay, Therma. Okay, this is one of the best communication apps that you can have today. It's purely end-to-end encrypted, it's purely local device storage, and it is almost like it's completely paid subscription. Okay, you need to pay for this, it's not free. Okay, so this was the first app which has been banned in J&K, Thema. Okay, just remember the name of this app. Now the second thing which you need to remember is that certain apps which are banned in J&K don't even require internet service. This is a new area, guys, please mark this very properly. Okay, skipping the internet. Okay, some apps do not require internet for communication. Okay, these apps rely on what? These apps rely on near field communication technology. It is called as NFC, like Bluetooth. Okay, the name of the app is Briar. One of the banned apps is a peer-to-peer messaging service that uses Bluetooth and other technologies to let users communicate even if they are not connected to the internet. A similar app, Firefly, was used by protesters in Hong Kong during the pro-democracy protest. Nightbox, which is also blocked is an app building platform that says on its website that it allows users to build their own messaging app. Okay, so you can have technologies like blockchain, you can have technologies like Bluetooth and other technologies of near field communication which can be utilized for these apps. So government has banned two categories of apps in J&K. Number one, which advocate end-to-end encryption, because if we are doing end-to-end encryption, and if, let's say, I am a government official, and if I'm approaching any person of, let's say, Threema, that please open up the app chats for us because we need to investigate these chats from a terrorism perspective, the official will directly say no. Why? Because according to their policy platforms, according to their policy, the chats are end-to-end encrypted. Only the persons who are communicating, they can open up their chats. No one has a privilege over opening their chats. And the second kind of apps that government has banned is those apps which do not need internet service. They don't need ISPs, internet service providers, for establishing communication. You have technologies like Bluetooth, other near field communication technologies, and you also have today technologies like blockchain. So you have an app called as Nandbox, which you can use, and you can build your own custom messaging app, and you can use technologies like blockchain. So this news becomes very important with regards to the use of technologies. Number one, end-to-end encryption. Number two, Bluetooth and NFC, and number three, blockchain. Okay, so please remember this article from this perspective, guys. You have to pick up the news from the articles. It's not that every article is not important or you can skip that, but these articles tend to come as one liner in prelims. Now another very good example of this, okay, a very small article, but if you get this article and if you get what I'm talking in this article, you can have a very good opinion in your interview. Okay, so imagine that you are sitting in your UPSC interview and the panel is sitting in front of you. Okay, and the panel is asking you questions with regards to the bullet train project in India. Okay, what are the advantages of that? Okay, what is the difference of tracks between a bullet train and a normal train? Okay, what is the technology used? So such kind of answers you will only get from such articles which come in Hindu. Okay, no other current affair source, no other material source will give you such info. Okay, so treat these articles from prelims perspective as well as from interview perspective too. Okay, so Japan to train 1,000 Indian engineers for bullet train project. Okay, as many as 1,000 engineers will be trained by Japanese experts before starting to work on the high-speed railway track system for the Mumbai-Ahmedabad high-speed rail corridor. Okay, the bullet train track built between Mumbai and Ahmedabad will used, please remember this name, ballast laced slab track system. I'm writing the name for you. It is ballast less slab track, ballast like slab track. Okay, now what is this ballast less slab track? So you must have seen the railway tracks. So the railway tracks are laid on a conglomerate of stones, of coal cinders. So below the railway track you have gravels, you have stones on which the railway track is laid. Okay, what do the stones and gravels do? They tend to absorb the increased pressure, they prevent the growth of local vegetation, and they also act as drainage lines. Okay, so this gravel does what? This gravel basically increases the elasticity of railway tracks. But when you are running a bullet train, okay, when you run a bullet train on a track, the bullet train is running with a speed of upwards of 300 kilometers per hour. And if you use ballast beneath the railway tracks, you cannot ensure consistency in the track trigonometry. You cannot ensure consistency in the track geometry. Hence, the tracks which are being built for the bullet train, they are ballast laced slab track. Okay, so you will have pure concrete underneath the tracks, and this concrete will have very linear geometry so that consistency in the track can be achieved, and you require immense skill training for this. The simple answer is, why do we need this technology? Because the bullet train will run in upwards of 300 kilometers per hour, and if you have gravel or if you have ballast underneath the track, the consistency or the geometry or the linearity of the track cannot be ensured. Okay. So the Japanese track system is unique to the world, and the technicians require high level of skill to lay it. Okay. Okay, this technology is unique to Japan because at present Japan has the world's biggest network of bullet trains. It is called as Shinkansen. Okay, Japanese bullet train is called Shinkansen, and recently Japanese have set the record for the world's fastest train called as the maglev. Okay, magnetic levitation technology, and the record is upwards of 620 kilometers per hour. Okay, so Japanese are expert in laying down tracks for bullet trains and for maglev trains. So please remember this, that the Japanese track system is unique to the world and requires high level of skill for laying. Okay, so this is the article which you need to remember from prelims perspective as well as forming your opinion. The next article that I'm again discussing, it's basically a headline news for you all from prelims perspective. Okay, the maritime exercises which have been starting now with the Asian countries, inaugural Asian Indian maritime exercise in South China Sea from today. Okay, so it is with regards to maritime security of the Indian Ocean region. Okay, in a step further in expanding India-Asian Association of South Asian Nations military cooperation, the first Asian Indian maritime exercise is set to begin on Tuesday with war games in South China Sea. You all know South China Sea, a very grey area for maritime security. China claims majority of the South China Sea under its own exclusive economic zone. Okay, those of you who are getting the name for the first time, exclusive economic zone, okay, you can do just a 2-page write-up today. Okay, you can just search for UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of the Seas. There you will get what do you mean by exclusive economic zone. So South China Sea is a very gray area because China claims majority of it under its own exclusive economic zone. There is a very famous kind of line called as 9-dash line which China uses to justify its sovereignty over the South China Sea. 9-dash line. Okay, so you will also have 2 exhibitions: International Maritime Defense Exhibition IMDEX 2023 and International Maritime Security Conference being hosted by Singapore. So right now we are having 3 events in news. Number first, you have the maiden Asian Indian Maritime Exercise. It is called as AIME, and you have IMDEX, International Maritime Defense Exhibition, and International Maritime Security Conference IMSC being hosted by Singapore. Okay, now please remember this, there will be 2 phases of AIME, Asian Indian Maritime Exercise. There will be 2 phases. The first phase will be the harbor phase of the exercise, is scheduled to be held at Changi Naval Base, and the sea phase of this, the second phase, will be held from May 7 to May 8 in the South China Sea. So you will have exercise being conducted in the harbor phase, wherein you will be seeing the logistics. Primarily you will be dealing with the logistical attack on the harbors, and number 2, you will have sea phase, so wherein the aircraft carriers, wherein the aircraft, submarines, everything will come into picture. So 2 phases, harbor phase and sea phase. Okay, so this is again a headline news. Please remember this from prelims perspective. Okay, the last article of today. I don't need to discuss this article with you all, but constitutional reforms anywhere in the world tend to have repercussions globally. Okay, so please don't summarize this article, just know this article, what has happened. Okay, I'm again reiterating, constitutional reforms globally tend to have a global repercussion. So please read this article, or please just listen to me and forget about this. Just keep this in mind. Okay, this has happened somewhere. Okay, Uzbekistan president wins referendum to rewrite the constitution. Okay, so basically now the constitution will be rewritten. Okay, you all know Uzbekistan was a part of the USSR. So once the breakup happened in the year 1989, so all of these countries had their own governments, but presently the rights of the people of Uzbekistan are not ensured properly. So the president of Uzbekistan had held a referendum wherein it was asked that whether can we rewrite the constitution. Staggering 91% of the people voted yes. This is the headline news. Okay, 91% of the people of a country are voting to rewrite the constitution. Okay, and this is happening in 21st century. Okay, so we don't know where the headwinds of this will go, but this can come as an extremely positive consequence, or it can have extremely negative consequence too. So two things you need to remember, that Uzbekistan has voted for rewriting the constitution and the vote percentage staggering 91%. Okay, so just read this. Okay, a vast majority of Uzbekistan voters voted yes to President Shavkat Mirziyoyev's bid to rewrite the country's constitution in Sunday's referendum that promised more freedoms to the people of the former Soviet Republic and could see the president extending his rule beyond its current 2-year term limit. This is everywhere, guys. Okay, so as soon as you have referendum on rewriting the constitution, you have extension of the term periods. According to the preliminary results announced by the Election Commission on Monday, 90.21% of the voters supported the changes. Okay, this is the headline news, while only 9.35% of the voters voted no. Okay, so we don't know whether this will have positive consequences or negative consequences, but surely this is going to be the headline news for few days in the Central Asia. Okay, so guys, this sums up today's articles for you all. Okay, I'm again reiterating my name. My name is Pritesh Mathurkar. Okay, you can join me on a Telegram channel called as HAZ, the Hindu Analysis Zone. The joining link is again on your screens, t.me, the Hindu Analysis Zone, wherein I will keep on posting the articles on a daily basis as soon as our sessions are over. Okay, and mind you, those who are listening to me, those who are seeing me, and those who will listen to this lectures further, this exercise is infutile. It is absolutely zero utilitarian value. This is absolute garbage. I will dare use the word garbage if and only if you don't work upon this content. Okay, so the PDFs I will be giving, you need to work upon those PDFs. You have to maintain your own file folders, because in mains this file folders will be your point of discussion of current affairs. And mind you, you will remember the way in which you have written these articles, in way you have discussed the articles, if and only if you have written something on your own. Because mains is an examination of retention, mains is an examination of exploration, and mains is somewhere you have to express. So unless and until you have got the experience, how can you express that experience? So I tend to use the word mains is a expression of expression. Okay, is an expression of experience. It's an expression of experience. Unless and until you have that experience, how can you express it in mains? Okay, so please utilize this from experience perspective and express it in your mains, guys. Okay, so I thank you on the behalf of StudyIQ IAS English, and we'll meet sharply tomorrow at 9 AM again for discussing the third mains current affairs. Okay, have a good day everyone. Study, work, and work hard and smart. Okay, and please study consistently, because that is what UPSC demands. Take care everyone. Thank you.